Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. I'm Randy Miller. I'm the founder of Your American Sheriffs, and the objective of our videos is to introduce the citizens of our country and of our state to our constitutions, because as much as I speak and travel around talking about our constitutions, the more I realize, and those that I speak with, how little they actually know of the Constitution. Which leaves us easily manipulated and lied to by government to believe that their powers exist when they don't. So, a basic understanding of the constitutions would be that it's a contract between the states. We created the federal government as part of an agreement that we made between us, that we would allow certain things, we would give up certain rights we have as states and give it to a general government, which is the federal government, to do on our behalf. Post offices, post roads, those type of things. Citizenship, how to become a citizen. So it's standardized throughout the states. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, Congress shall establish a standardized system of naturalization, which is how to become a citizen. The states admit people into their state that they want to for immigration. Federal government has no authority over immigration. The courts like to think that, well, we do have authority over immigration because Article 4, Section 4 gives us, where it says defend each from invasion, is immigration. Well, I have to ask you, what does immigration mean? What does that word mean? And what does defend against invasion mean? The courts have taken judicial liberties on many instances where they should not be expanding the powers of the federal government and should just be staying within the means of the federal government as outlined in all of Article 1, Section 8. They have no authority over anything outside of that. So immigration is a perfect example. We'll talk about that for a second because we have this massive invasion. If the federal government has no authority over immigration, which they do not, then why do our states allow this massive assisted immigration problem, invasion, let's call it, by the federal government when they don't have the authority? The states have the authority. And let's break it down real quick. How can we say the states have authority? Well, we've given Congress the authority to, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, like I mentioned, determine a standardized system of naturalization. How to become a citizen. Because under Article 4, I think it's Section 2, the states, a citizen of a state shall have the privileges and immunities of the several states. That's our first privileges and immunities clause in the Constitution. So we're free to travel. We're free to do business in other states. So if I go to Texas and I'm a citizen of Arizona, I have the same privileges and immunities in Texas as I would in Arizona. But if we have to determine citizenship so we don't fight among each other, a same standard of citizenship. If Arizona has a standard, let's just, for example, say all you got to do is if you can fog up this mirror, well, you're a citizen of Arizona. And I go to Texas on that basis and they say we want you fog up the mirror, take a pulse, and if you can sit down and stand up again, well, you're a citizen. Standards are different. And yet we're going to have the same expectation of having privileges and immunities in that state based on citizenship in Arizona. It would be a problem for us. So in order to keep harmony among us, we said, you know what, we'll have the same standard and we'll let Congress develop a standard of naturalization for every state so it's the same. No fighting, no bickering. We live peacefully among ourselves, as an example. And each state has its own state constitution. And each state has defined boundaries for their state within their constitution. In Arizona, it's Article 1. It defines our boundaries. When we become a state, we have to follow the standard, which is under Article 4 again, that Congress shall establish a system of admitting new states into the Union. Okay, they did that under the Enabling Act. We had our own state constitution. We ratified our state constitution, and we sent it to Congress, and they approved it and sent it back. And now we're a state, Arizona, 1913. So we're a state and we have our own defined boundaries, we have our own constitution. That is what makes us self-governing. So we have our boundaries. How can you be an independent sovereign state if you don't control your boundaries, your borders? You aren't. You control your borders because you're an independent sovereign state. Congress has no authority over our borders. They can take their signs down that says property of the United States government. It's not. What is the property of the United States government? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. They have authority over the listed properties in that clause. Just going off memory, but they have legislative jurisdiction over no more than 10 miles square for the seat of government, Washington, D.C. Okay, they have authority over that in the Constitution. That's given to them. Which means it's a seat of government, which means it cannot become a state. Hello. What are all these people in the legislature saying, well, let's make Washington, D.C. a state? You can't. It belongs to the people. It's the people's government for the states to do our business. So they have no more than 10 miles square. They have the legislative authority after they petition the state legislature and compensate us for forts, dockyards, armories, and needful buildings. So they have to ask permission. Needful buildings would be for like, let's say, courthouse, federal courthouse. They need a federal courthouse in Arizona. They petition the government of Arizona, which is our legislator. They come up with a price that's approved, and they compensate us for us. That's the only way they get that property. Same thing with the base. If they want a new military installation in a state, they have to petition the government of the state and compensate them for it. They don't have any authority for anything outside of what's listed in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17. What's missing? Borders. You know what else is missing? National forest, national parks. If they have no constitutional right or authority to have national parks, national forests, I don't care what people say about, well, it's in our enabling act when we became a state, we ceded that. You can't cede anything to the federal government for property that they have no authority to have under the Constitution. So they have no authority over borders. They have no authority over immigration. So who controls it? The states. Article 1, Section 9, prohibitions on the federal government. It says that the states shall admit, I think it's the last clause, 4, the states shall admit those they admit now through migration or importation. But they can apply a $10 head tax until 1808. That was, I think it was 1808, maybe 1805, I'm not sure. But that was to discourage slavery. That's a slavery clause because they didn't want slavery. They abhorred slavery. And Madison explains that when he, in Federalist 40, I think it was 42, 41, 42, and 43 are Madison's articles on powers of the federal government. Powers delegated, I think they're called. Read those. It's important to understand those. So they have no authority over immigration. The states shall admit those they admit through migration or importation. They want to discourage slavery. And then if they want to apply for a citizenship, they do it under the standardized system that Congress was authorized to initiate for all states. But the states admit those they admit now. They can't interfere in that. We have the right to secure our borders. Our state legislators are failing us because their ignorance is demonstrated when they keep turning around saying, well, the federal government has the authority to control immigration. And I asked them, Steve Montenegro, I've asked you, Kevin Payne, I've asked you, Anthony Kern, I've asked you. These are legislators in Arizona. I've asked Beverly Pingarelli, Frank Carroll, David Livingston. None of them have the answer. None of them know. And I ask them, show me in the federal Constitution, U.S. Constitution, where that's an authority. If they're able to open it up and find anything in there, I'd be amazed. And because they can't. So we as a people have to understand the Constitution, immigration and migration. We have the authority to control immigration within our state. We are an independent sovereign nation, Arizona, Texas, you too, and we are operating under our state constitutions. We need to protect those state constitutions and take a deep breath and step back anytime there's an amendment proposed to amend it by the voters. Don't just rush into it and believe what they want to make you think it says. You need to research and ask a lot of questions. And I'd be hesitant to modify our state constitutions without really fully understanding what's going on, because I can guarantee our legislators have no idea, because I've spoken to them many times on a couple of amendments being proposed for this November for Arizona. Anyway, I'll let it go at there. Any questions, please ask questions you may have in the comment section, and I will do my best to address those in future articles and future videos. I do have a Substack. It's Randy Miller. Go on Substack and look for Randy Miller, and it's got a nice picture in there of me. It's a little older, but what the heck, realtors do it. I might as well. Anyway, if you have any comments or questions, please ask, and we'll try to address those. But let's take back our country. Let's take back our states. The power lies in the state, because they're the ones that are to enforce the U.S. Constitution. The state legislators are the ones to control the constitutional actions or inactions of the federal government. Read Article 6, Paragraph 2, Supremacy Clause, and I'll end it on this. But it says those laws and debts made pursuant to this Constitution, and treaties made under the authority of the United States. Pursuant to this Constitution means if it's a constitutional authority we granted them to do, then it's a lawful constitutional action that they can take. If it is not, it is null and void. They have no authority to do it. It has no impact or enforcement of law. So these immigration laws that they have, there's no enforcement for them. They don't control immigration. The states do. So let's learn our constitutions and take back our states. Thank you.